So this is a speech by Mr. Charles Moura, Principal Secretary, State Department of Housing and Urban Development, during the Kara Business Expo Conference at Service Center. Ladies and gentlemen, I take this as an opportunity to thank you for inviting me to this business forum this morning, whose theme is making affordable housing a reality and responsive to the community needs. The theme is appropriate because it is in line with the affordable housing pillar, and especially at this time, we are engaging stakeholders and sensitizing the public. The State Department continues involving Kara in its activities, both of national and international nature. We sincerely thank Kara for working with us towards the global observance of World Habitat Day and always being available to discuss pertinent issues. As the Department rolls over the affordable housing agenda, we shall require your support as Kara, especially in stakeholders' engagement. As you well know, the Constitution requires that any policy document be taken through public participation. For instance, we have uploaded the development framework guidelines on the ministry's website for Kenyans to read, seek clarification, and propose amendments as the case may be. We have also uploaded the housing fund regulations, and we expect you to give your views on the same by actually tomorrow. It was supposed it was for 14 days, but it's ending tomorrow, which is 19, but I believe most of you have already done so. As we get towards construction stage, we also must address ownership and management issues. The ownership of most of these units will be under the Section of Properties Act, which will then mean that common areas will be owned jointly. The buyers of these houses will be expected to form a corporation for the management of the estates, including the common areas. Over the years, the demand for new housing units, especially in urban areas, has been estimated to be 250,000 units, with a supply of 50,000 units, leaving a deficit of 200,000 units. The government, while noting the challenges facing the housing sector, has prioritized development of 500,000 affordable housing as key pillar in the Big Four. The definition of affordable housing means that Kenyans should be able to own a house by paying the amount they are currently paying for rental houses. I know there are quite a number of many people asking, what is the definition of affordable housing? And it's well defined in our documents, both in guidelines and the regulations. The housing segment of the Big Four agenda is a real opportunity for all of us to provide decent and affordable housing, stimulate economic growth, and spur industrial growth that's creating employment while lifting the standard of living. Indeed, housing is one of the economic sectors that can revitalize economic growth as well key driver of development. It is evident that investment in housing and related infrastructure and services has a multiplier effect on the national income, triggered by forward and backward linkages through additional investment in building material production, transportation, and marketing. Therefore, investment in the affordable housing component will contribute positively to the other three segments of the Big Four by alleviating poverty and improving health and well-being. Ladies and gentlemen, we've already held a series of consultative forums with various stakeholders who are key to the program. We have held forums with commercial banks, financial institutions, insurance firms, pension funds, and private equity firms. We have also met housing cooperatives, savings and credit cooperatives, developers, and private sectors. These meetings with stakeholders have enabled the identification of key drivers to the affordable housing program and development of implementation framework. The national and county governments are in process of identifying and securing land for development of affordable and social housing. So far, we have secured 6 parcels of land in Nairobi where we shall construct flagship projects. We have also had discussions with county governments on the issues of setting land aside for the housing program, and so far we have signed 20 MOUs with the counties. With regard to financing, the government has already prioritized the creation of Kenya Mortgage Financing Company, KMRC, which has been incorporated and is expected to commence operation by February 2019. KMRC will provide medium and long-term liquidity to primary mortgage lenders, including cooperatives. The government is also in the process of operationalizing the National Housing Development Fund to provide a housing aggregator and offtake. The government will also be launching an online housing portal, a component of housing fund, and will aggregate demand and segregate the market according to affordability and preferences. This portal will also provide a platform for developers to showcase their products and technologies in order for prospective buyers to sample and commence the process of purchasing, either by tenant purchase or mortgage. To this end, we have engaged a consultancy firm to undertake a national master plan for the affordable housing program. The master plan will establish the demand and affordability of housing in all the counties and further identify available land for affordable housing development. On infrastructure and related services, we are working with the relevant ministries and government departments within the infrastructure sector to provide support in addressing infrastructure needs in the affordable housing program. The key infrastructure to be provided includes roads, water, electricity, sewer, telecommunication services, security and education facilities, health facilities, transport services, among others. This will reduce the cost of construction and burden on the developers, thus making resultant housing units more affordable. With regard to technology, the government will continue to encourage use of industrial building systems and alternative building technologies that are faster, minimize costs, of high quality, and environmentally friendly. We have proposed a raft of amendments to various pieces of legislation to create impetus for affordable housing delivery. These amendments include Section of Properties Act, among others, and these are also efforts. There are also efforts to establish a one-stop approval process at the county level. The government has also proposed various incentives, both financial and non-financial, to stimulate private sector investment in housing. Some incentives have already been implemented, including reduction of corporate tax to 15% for developers who develop more than 100 affordable housing units in a given year. The National Construction Authority levies, as well as National Environment Management Authority levies, have also been scrapped to lower the cost of construction. What we see the role of CARA is to first understand the overall affordable housing program, including development framework, which we shall publish soon. CARA will then be expected to sensitize the project beneficiaries on the affordable and social program. In line with the mandate of CARA, it's expected to continue organizing buyers to beneficiaries of housing into sustainable neighborhoods associations. Of late, we have witnessed a lot of demolitions. I think it was brought by my friend Wakazi here. Demolitions of buildings built on road reserves, riparian areas, and even on sewer lines. Well, in some cases, people have done substandard works. As an association that is in touch with communities on a daily basis, we expect you to be whistleblowers on these issues and also educate members of the association on all current issues in the housing sector that affect them. We do not have to wait until buildings is complete or until a building has killed people for us to talk. We will continue to engage CARA to successfully implement this housing agenda and also to sensitize people on the Section of Properties Act. With those remarks, I wish you food for deliberation. Probably before the guest of honor comes in, on the issue of demolition of houses, we must bring sanity into our people. Sometimes when we went to UN in Washington, and Embassy remembers this, we had an incident in Kenya, in Athi River, if you people remember, where the railway was carrying LPG gases. And the gas exploded, if you people remember. It killed so many people. Incidentally, that time, we were going also for United Nations. And our people, including our CBOs and NGO, complained that government had done nothing to remove people within the railway lines because people died and everybody blamed the state. And therefore the government cannot sit down and see its people being killed by being on these power lines and all that, and then be blamed in the United Nations as we discuss the dignities of human life. You are aware, in South B also, there is a time the transformer exploded, killing so many people. And the government get blamed again for having kept people within the transformer. And therefore, we must bring sanity into all this. You remember sometimes back, on the northern bypass and southern bypasses, there were so many houses that were constructed on the bypasses. Today, those are corridors of transport, which are very good. So would you want houses built in the road reserve? Or you want to really make public use of those roads? You can see now how they are really diverting vehicles coming from town and creating other transport modes. So we must really be able to weigh the public goods against some of these things we are talking about. Kara, I know we've worked very closely. In the Section of Properties Act that is already in the AG, we have worked very closely with the Ministry of Lands to make sure it is amended and the regulations are put in place. These houses you're talking about, lands have become very, very expensive. And we must go build apartments up. We must have a law that actually controls the shared properties and addresses the management of the common areas, the corridors, the spaces, and all that. The law must be in place. We've seen in the past where even the county government has built houses and the common areas have been grabbed. We must sustain those kind of things. And Kara has got a lot of duty in making sure we have strong neighborhood associations that fight for their rights. And I believe that's the reason why actually Kara is in place, to make sure that its people get right of what is supposed to be. And actually Kenyans think right and make sure, as a QS will tell you, in terms of design, those spaces are not designed for people to come and grab them and build unnecessary construction. It is for children to play. It is for recreational purposes, and therefore we must be able to protect that. I was having a meeting yesterday. I opened ISK meeting. ISK is Institute of Surveyors. Surveyors themselves, surveyors, planners, and everything, they've been unable to define what is even a river riparian. And that's why you see what one of the governors saying: we divert the water and leave the housing. Because even professionals, and yesterday I actually challenged professionals, can we have a proper way of defining what river riparian is? Because what we are doing, we are subjecting our developers to unnecessary definition. Things must be clear so that as a developer or wherever you are, the law is very clear and the law serves everybody. I don't want to talk much. I think the guest of honor will talk much. My senior and my colleague, I think we'll give more information on that. But I think we'll continue working in Kara We will continue putting things together. We continue putting sanity in our people so that we live a healthy environment and subject our people to live in a friendly environment. Thank you.